start and this is sort of, like looking at our system and trying to understand some of the challenges I see myself. I think we had to look at this national examination system. This is something that has had a significant effect in the education system. When I was a student, of course, it was very different. And we have a large bottleneck at the university entrance level. And as a result, what has happened is education has become very stressful. And it is no longer fun to study. And also in Sri Lanka, compared to any other country, I think we have developed a very strong tuition culture. And that has also a very strong effect on the education system. On top of that, what I see also is we are probably the only country in the world without a fixed academic calendar. We used to have a fixed academic calendar, right? But today we don't have a fixed academic calendar. And also now, as I told you at the morning, I was away from Sri Lanka for nearly 40 years. And after my retirement from Canada, I came and joined Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology. So we are a non-state academic institution. What we are seeing is actually students going away from A-levels. I don't know how many of you have seen this. We see increasingly actually parents and students, they don't want to sit for the local A-level examination. And the increasing number of students actually following the international qualifications and then trying to find pathways through those qualifications into academic credentials, degrees and so on, both locally as well as overseas. And also, I'm aware of this firsthand. If you look at almost every major school in urban centers, the government schools, the number of applications for grade 1 has significantly gone down. Right? And part of it may be that we have outdated curricula, pedagogy, poor teaching and learning skills. So I thought these are things that we should actually at least acknowledge. And let me talk about STEM. Now, the whole idea of STEM is basically you are looking at science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Now, if you look at our curriculum, we do have STEM. There is no question about it, right? At various levels we have this. And we teach science, we teach technology, engineering and mathematics. But the idea of STEM, and I will talk about a little bit later, is this happened actually as a result of what happened with the Sputnik satellite in the 1960s. When Russia sent the first satellite, the Western world was actually surprised. They didn't expect that to be successful. And then they realized that, yes, we are teaching science, engineering, technology, mathematics, but in silos. The connection between those things were not clear in their education and the curriculum. Whereas in the old Soviet Union and the Eastern Europe, there were universities actually that were focusing on producing turbines. They produced people to actually produce turbines or locomotives, right? So they were specifically focused on actually products or outcomes rather than simply teaching something as an education. And with that, actually, the United States, of course, the National Science Foundation, start focusing on what is called STEM education, that is increasing the presence of the teachers in this area and also looking at how these can be integrated with the idea of developing skills and driving innovation. And there was a major push under President Obama in 2012 to STEM education, billions of dollars spent. But if you look at it, as I mentioned, STEM as a content is already there. Anywhere in the world you will find that. But what is lacking is actually integration of that into the curriculum as a pedagogy. And that is where I think the biggest challenge is in trying to find people who can do that. And primarily, the best way to implement STEM education is problem based learning or project based learning. Now, in disciplines like engineering, and I know in Canada, for example, McMaster University teach medicine using a PBL curriculum, problem based learning, right? And engineering also, in some universities we use that kind of approach in terms of educating engineers. Now, one of the criticism of STEM is that it has taken the education into connection to the economic benefits and industry needs, and it also actually lacks ethical considerations and originality, and then also dilution of humanities with this strong focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, as a response to that, the idea of STEAM came. So this A was added to STEM. And it was not added simply actually to address a criticism, but with a specific purpose. And some of that I think we have heard today also here, right? And the A actually belongs to the arts and humanities. And the reason for that is we need artists, humanists, and social scientists to understand human behavior and strengthen creativity and innovation. The future work, I think we heard also through some speakers, it will be more social and emotional, because if you look at purely technical skills, then things like AI is going to come and take over it. Right? Standard designs in engineering. If you want to design a building and you tell actually what is the purpose of that building, what size you need, in 10 years' time, you will have actually a program designing everything and giving it to you. Right? You will be able to, as a use of that building, you will be able to change parameters and all those things. So, we need to actually have education that emphasize both technical and human skills. Right? Both the technical content as well as human skills to prepare students. And also, STEAM helps students to develop the 4 C's in education. And these are the ones that is very important for the future: creativity, communication, critical thinking, and collaboration. Right? These are things that I think if you look at, particularly in Sri Lanka, I must say that we are very strong in actually giving content, but in terms of creativity, critical thinking, and even collaboration, you will find that our education system is not doing very well. And also, we should shift from a content-centered to teacher-centered curriculum to a more of a student-centered curriculum. And with project-based learning and so on, we will be able to do that. And STEAM will also allow us actually to bridge the gap between convergent and divergent thinking. And as I mentioned, if you look around, there are many successful models, and they always involve a lot of hands-on activities, gamification, storytelling, right? And I mean, we have started at Ananda now a project where we have actually started to do storytelling into the primary school, right? And we want to take that and actually include into that more scientific thinking, and rather than simply a story, but also to integrate that with the education. And also countries like, of course, you know that US and other places have very successful event. Now, how can STEAM help us? I think it will create a well-rounded education and make education more interactive, less stressful, collaborative and flexible. And also we will go beyond technical skills and allow us to incorporate ethics, culture and history that we have actually discussed this morning also. And as I mentioned in the morning today, in about 2035, about 35% of the jobs that we know today will not exist. They will become redundant primarily because of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Right? So we will need to educate people starting from today, from the primary level to that new world, where they will need different skills and different types of education. And so AI, automation, we have already seen, robotization, and creativity and innovation will be the key skills for the future graduates. But it is very interesting actually, if you look at this way back, that we did this in the old days. Right? So it's not, even though we are trying to do this, it has existed before, particularly in the Renaissance. If you look at the science and humanities were blended. If you look at the trivium, right, that was what? Grammar, logic, and rhetoric. That was the foundation, right? And quadrivium was mathematics, geometry, cosmology, and music. So these were the ancient education system that the world had. And we have gone away from that, and I think we perhaps think about how to do that in a more different way. Now I want to just briefly explain to you something that we are trying to do something in this direction at Ananda College. I think some of us are Professor Harendra, we are all old Alandians, Dr. Mahipala, Professor Atula and all. So we are trying to actually bring this idea of STEAM education into the school, but in a way that we don't want to actually disrupt the standard curriculum, because that is a Ministry of Education curriculum. So whatever we do, it has to actually complement what is happening with the standard curriculum. So these are some things that we are working on a center of excellence, and here are some our vision and certain values. So you can see that the 4 C's are primary values we have: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication. We have also added to that environment and sustainability, and also ethics, integrity, and diversity. So these are the goals of the center. We are developing some infrastructure for this, because this is going to be actually not simply teacher-centered education. There will be a lot of laboratories and other support needed for deliver a student-centered curriculum. So we are working on that. And then also there are various other things. We want to develop project-based programs, entrepreneurship, and then also we want to make sure that the center is financially sustainable. And unfortunately something, so this is essentially what we are trying to propose is, you can see, I think Saroj mentioned in the morning that we also have a fundamental problem with our education system. That is, beyond, I think, grade 8, we don't have any humanities subjects. Am I correct? Or grade 8 or grade 9. If you look at actually most of the developed countries, up until about grade 11, they will have all those things. It's only in the grade 12 they will take some specializations. And so what we are trying to do is, you can see that we are trying to develop a series of laboratories which is providing the core for the STEAM education: mathematics, science, ICT, STEAM hub, a language center, fine arts center, a performing arts center, media and communication, and business and entrepreneurship. So these will be like laboratories that will actually provide students with various tools and facilities to pursue these things. And then on the other side is a STEAM model that we are trying to develop. And as I mentioned, we don't want to disrupt the standard curriculum. So we are thinking of introducing actually 3 projects, and these are related to STEAM education: grade 6 and 7, grade 8 and 9, and grade 11, because we don't want to touch grade 12 because of the A-level examination. All the parents will be mad with us if we do that. right? So here we will actually introduce various projects which will give students the STEAM thinking, conceptualization, ideation, how to create idea. And then at a later stage, they can prototype and even they can take to commercialization. And these are 5 courses that we want to develop to support the education. The first one on ethics, values, and diversity. We will introduce this at different levels, 3 levels, very introductory level, intermediate level, and highest level at the grade level. And then creativity, what are the traits of creativity, how to develop an idea, elements of design thinking, problem solving, and prototyping. Entrepreneurship, we will do certain elements of entrepreneurship, as I said, initially the introduction, and then of course today no one can survive without ICT skills. And we need to know ICT. So starting from that level, we will also actually gradually build that. So that's an example of what we plan to do in terms of STEAM thinking. It's a very ambitious project, and I hope that we will be able to do something. Thank you.